What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to the land of reckless logic. Please make sure you guys pop that like button, hit the subscribe button, and please make sure you put a thumbs up this video because it does help out with YouTube's algorithm. So let's get straight into this video. Let's get started. Alrighty, guys. So as you guys can already tell by the title of this video, I will be talking about the 24-year-old black man by the name of Lakeem Woods, where he was brutally beaten in Jacksonville, Florida. And I also will be talking about a black trans woman that was assaulted and attacked. But before I get into all of that, I do have a special guest, and with me having a special guest, I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves. He's no stranger to the platform.
This is my
What's going on, Conscious?
This is my second home. What's going on? Hi, the logicians. It's been a long time, honey. Okay, so I hope y'all whoop off in his ass. I hope y'all unsubscribe from the platform, take away y'all memberships, honey, and punish her accordingly, baby, for just abandoning us out here in these streets. But I'm happy to be here. I'm glad you're back doing content. You look amazing. The haircut is haircutting. I want to ride your face. And
girl, not that lesbian activity.
Well, you know, I am all lesbian these days.
Oh, we know.
I'm on my misandry. I'm in my misandry bag these days. Okay?
Come on, Priscilla.
Period. So y'all thumbs up the video. Y'all already know where y'all can find me at Conscious TV, etc., Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. But make sure you guys tune in tomorrow for sure. We're going to be picking up on the Blueface Zeus Network, honey. I'm about to be Hope Giselle in the hell out of Zeus Network, girl. I'm about to push to the streets, honey, with the signs that, you know, they got to get up out of her with all this traumatizing content because I can't take it. So one of the Conscious crew members created a petition to help the public sign off on to stop some of these major black blogs from force feeding this stuff to us girls. So y'all be around, make sure you sign the petition and you share it out, and yeah, just be tuned in tomorrow.
All righty, y'all heard it here first. So y'all make sure y'all tune in for tomorrow's show. You guys are going to be continuing a discussion, like you said, about Christian Rock, Zeus Network, etc. And he does have a surprise for you guys. All right, but
Yes.
Before I even get started, I do
Shout out
want
to
give
the
a
super
shout.
chat. Shout out to the
Yep, I was about to say, let me just recognize that. What's going on, Deshaun? How are you doing today? I really appreciate it. He says hi, both of y'all, Conscious TV, hi, Reckless. Hey. And he most definitely cleared it up at the end. He said both of y'all are high.
Period.
We're white and are high. All right. So first topic we're gonna talk about Lakeem Woods. I have an article right here. I'm gonna be pulling that bad boy up. Let me see. Bam! Right here. Here we go. So if you guys are not aware, my source is from my fucking mind. Hot new hip hop. Girl, get it together. I'm over here going through with my voice. Y'all pray for me. Now it says Lakeem Woods' family demands justice after violent police confrontation. Let's continue. Now it says recently there's been a clip of a 24-year-old Lakeem Woods going viral, showing his violent encounter with Jacksonville police. In the video, Woods can be seen getting held on the ground by various officers. Though it's hard to tell how he sustained them, severe injuries can also be seen on Woods' face. Now it says here, now Woods' cousin has shared the video in hopes of getting justice for the alleged police brutality. And it says here, and I quote, "Attention followers," she wrote, "my cousin was brutally attacked by the gang members that are in charge of protecting our city at Jack Sheriff. He is currently hospitalized and JSO isn't allowing him to speak on any family because they know they have committed an act of brutality. I can't think of any situation that will warrant an officer to kick someone in the face while they are cuffed on the ground. Please share, repost, and tag any outlet you think could help." Now, this right here is the post, the actual post that I seen on Instagram. And I'm not going to play the video because it's very severe or whatever. I wish I could turn it back. Yes, I'm not going to show all of that. I'm not going to play the video, but it is very explicit. You do see multiple officers on top of Mr. Woods. You also see the officer do something with his foot. And that's where the sister, the cousin told the general public that he was kicked while the officers had him cuffed and also pinned down as well on all the other things. But the incident was very much severe. Now, I do want to read the caption that the Shade Room did actually post about this incident. And it says here, a family is seeking answers after accusing Jacksonville Sheriffs of brutally assaulting 24-year-old LaKean Woods. Now, it says, according to the family, LaKean was attacked by officers after he was pulled over and placed under arrest for resisting without violence. Now, let's put a pause in that. The resisting without violence. So I decided to take it upon myself that I wanted to look into what actually, now of course, based off the dome, you would think you would know what resisting without violence would mean. But however, I wanted to make sure that I get more of a legal or more of an understanding of what that means legally in the state of Florida, because we will have to get into that, and that's going to drive me to my point later on down the road. Now it says footage of the arrest seemingly shows an officer kicking the young man in the face while his hands are cuffed behind his back. The family claims that authorities aren't allowing anyone, not even a lawyer, to see or speak to LaKean as he recovers in the hospital. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue because this is like the last end of it. Now it says Woods' family claims that he, his uncle, and a friend were pulled over for not wearing seat belts. But it's unclear how the situation escalated from there. After his injuries were sustained, he was taken to a nearby hospital for treatment. He was then brought to Duval County Jail. He's currently being held there for various charges, including resisting an officer. He's also charged with armed drug trafficking, possession of a controlled substance, and more. The Jacksonville Police Department has since shared a statement on the situation with First Coast News. Yesterday, JSO officers were involved in an incident where Toledo Road and Powers Avenue, in which force was used, taking a subject into custody. The agency takes all allegations of inappropriate use of force by JSO officers seriously. As such, this incident is now under administrative review to determine if the involved officers violated any JSO policy. Because the matter is currently under investigation, the agency cannot comment further about the incident until the investigation is completed. So, girl. So while I look up and I pull up what it means about resisting without violence, what is your initial thoughts, Conscious?
Initially, hey Kiwana, hey love, who just became a new member. Shout out to the new logician. Y'all make sure to thumbs up and share this video. Well, I actually learned about this case from you, which was maybe like an hour prior to us getting on, and immediately this took me all the way back. I'm talking about copy and paste to the Tyree Nichols situation, who you guys might remember out of Memphis, Tennessee, who was the young Black man who was brutally beat maybe a block away from his mother's house. He ran on foot at a stoplight, and from there he was handcuffed a block away from his mom's home, where he screamed her name, and police kicked, punched, tased, and pepper sprayed him essentially to death. And obviously there's going to be a huge lawsuit to follow. This man is on camera being assaulted while handcuffed. Now, being handcuffed does not mean you are harmless just because you are handcuffed, but half the time in cases like this, the suspects are in fact harmless while handcuffed, and police are just rocks off. So I haven't seen the extent of that footage and everything, but I think this is really tragic. I think this is why us as Black and brown folk need to be in solidarity, especially since we're going to be rolling right after this into another situation with the Black trans woman, and how us as Black folk, we cannot afford the division that we have amongst each other. We have enemies on every line, east, west, north, and south of us. So I'm curious to know what all is going to come out of this case. We know that Mr. Woods had allegedly a lot of drugs on him, etc. And not really sure what popped off after being stopped. But let me tell you something, baby. If you pulled up on me with kilos of coke and crack and crystal meth, baby, I'm probably gonna be windmilling my ass up out of that situation as well, girl. So I can only imagine, baby, that it got real lit. Once Mr. Woods knew that officers were going to be, investigating that vehicle, but whatever took place clearly was unwarranted and it was overkill. I mean, it looked like both of this man's eyes were blacked. He looked like he was barely alive. I am surprised he survived his injuries, and the fact that they are holding him hostage and not allowing him to have contact with lawyers. I didn't even know is that even legal? Because I mean, that is supposed to be a part of your constitutional rights under arrest, is you are afforded an attorney, you are afforded to remain silent. I mean, he absolutely was silent in the way because the man was in a goddamn coma practically. So this precinct obviously has opened itself up to a large lawsuit and potentially some criminal charges. So in the words of Beyonce, it's looking like somebody about to get fired.
Oh Lord. All righty, so thank you so very much. Hey Kiwana, hey Bougie Barbie. Y'all forgive me, y'all. My voice is recovering from
for being on his knees, y'all.
Huh?
For being on his knees, everybody.
I just knew you was gonna say that. That is not what was going on, and I had a situation going on. I ended up losing my voice, but I'm over here recovering. So if I hear me messed up, my voice sounds going a little out. I'm so sorry. Now let me continue. Now here, my source is called Helen Law. Now, like I said in this the shade room post, the thing that stuck out to me when it said resisting without violence. Now, of course, like I said previously, off the top of the dome, you can kind of use context clues and probably common sense, etc. on, okay, what does that mean? But however, a lot of us as citizens, as regular American people, etc., it's very much encouraged to actually go inside of the books and actually see what the actual definitions and legalities and specifics of what these terms mean, because a lot of times too, a lot of these terms, if you don't have the full-fledged definition and understanding of these terms, there could be loopholes to where these things could be quote unquote legal. Mm-hmm. So now it says resisting an officer without violence. Resisting an officer non-violently can include warning others that the police are coming, lying, providing a false identity or identification, fleeing after being told to stop, not getting up when asked, or not placing your hands behind your back when asked. It can include any refusal to obey verbal commands. Often actions that form the basis of this charge can seem minor to the defendant. However, more serious actions of resistance can include concealing evidence, evading the police when they have a reasonable suspicion of criminal wrongdoing, inciting others to interfere with police activities, or presenting an invalid identification upon a lawful arrest. Now, I'm going to read this last part, then we're going to get into what we need to get into, to my thoughts, and I'm going to get conscious, maybe just do what we do. Now, it says here, in order to prove the crime of resisting an officer, the prosecutor must prove beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, y'all remember, back in the Megan Thee Stallion series, Tory Lane series, that reasonable doubt word just kept coming up over and over and over. Now it's to the point when I hear it, I cringe. But side note, let me stay focused. Beyond a reasonable doubt that you opposed, obstructed, or resisted a law enforcement officer who was involved in executing legal process or a legal duty at the time, and you knew that the person whom you were opposing, obstructing, or resisting was an officer or another person legally authorized to execute legal process. All righty. So I just wanted to make sure I got into that. Let me stop sharing this. Then I'm going to my thoughts. All right, so first things first, I do want to say, because I actually did watch the video. In the video, you see that at the time, you see a couple of officers on Mr. Wood's back, and you see that he's being obtained. Now, here's the thing. The injuries, the brutality, the process, whatever you want to call it, was very much, it was excessive. It was too much. From what I know as of right now and from what I can see, it's very much obsessive. There should be no reason why a person's being stopped for a seatbelt, for not wearing a seatbelt, and end up looking like Martin off of that one episode. I think he had allergic reaction. His face was swollen, eyes were swollen, very much bloody, etc. Now, I did read another article where it got more in detail of what actually happened. Now, I do vividly remember, now this is based on my memory, that it said in the article that his head was slammed against cement, said that he was slammed as well. But based on all of that, it was very much too much. It was excessive, especially when he was already cuffed. Now, we'll get into that. 2.5 seconds. Give me a little time. Now, the first thing I do want to say as well, in addition to what I literally just said, I wonder what the mentality was for the officers. I wonder, what did they think? What did they think at the time? Now, I do understand for the surface level and to the naked eye, they were just thinking about doing what they want to do. They probably just want to beat up on him, etc. Now, I wanted to know, what was the thought process after the fact, especially when you see in the video where they notice and they know that they are being recorded. So if you know that you are being recorded at that point, what was your thought process? Was your thought process to clean it up and try to, okay, now let's not do what we were doing 2.5 seconds ago, because now the person across the street or the person in that car, aka the cousin, etc., now they're the ones actually pressing record, and now this is going to be uploaded to the internet, especially if we know that since the police and the general public, they typically melanated communities have tension and has always had tension, that now you should expect to be recorded whenever you do engage with other individuals within society. You should expect that. So I wonder what the mentality was after the fact, after it all set in. Because I'm pretty sure in the moment, they just got caught in the moment of doing whatever they want to do. But I wonder what happened after the fact. What was their reaction? I do wonder what's going to be the outcome in terms of the way this case is going to be handled. The reason why I'm asking that is because it's going to lead into my next point, is because if you get into policies, if you get into rules, legalities, etc., when you get into those things, I wonder what are the loopholes or excuses that are going to come up after the fact. What's going to be the excuse? What's going to be the loophole that they're going to try to use to justify why they did what they did? What's going to be the point of view from the officer's perspective of what happened? And I wonder, are they ever going to release, and I'm pretty sure they might, more than likely they're going to release the body cam footage so we can see everything and hear everything that happened beforehand. Now, I do want to be able to eventually, because apparently he's not allowed to say anything, even though he has recovered or he's recovering, is that the victim, Mr. Woods, will be able to give out a statement. I would love to hear his point of view, what happened. I would love to hear his perspective, and then compare and contrast it to the officer's perspective. Because I also know that even though he may be the victim, his whole recollection of everything may not be 100% to the T, because it's a very traumatic experience. We already know that this has happened. If you take a look back in the Megan Thee Stallion case, to where now you have a victim that was so traumatized in the experience where what they're saying actually happened, but however the small minor details started to come out, and I actually did read on that in terms of psychology. My psychology book says that our brains like to leave out certain details to kind of allow us to recover from that. Little like a little fact to give y'all. Now, in terms of before I even get into that, you continue. What do you have to say?
I just want to say to expound upon your point that excessive is definitely unnecessary as a force, especially when there was more than one officer on scene, which means that they had enough manpower to manhandle Mr. Woods. The fact that they're also given tasers and mace, which also assist in subduing aggressive suspects. So there's never any need to be using your hands and your feet and all of that. All of this for one scrawny, athletic built black man clearly was unnecessary. Maybe I can understand if he had a weapon on him, why they went ham, but since there's no weapon being reported, it doesn't make sense to me why all of this happened, especially under the guise of him being handcuffed. And I'm going to logically assume that if he was already handcuffed, at best, this was something that mace and or tasing could have assisted in minimizing any further. It was just not necessary for them to do all that they clearly did to him. And last but not least, I also wanted to say that, I know this oftentimes becomes a race issue, but at this point, I'm starting to feel like, aside from there being a racial component, there's just a hyper toxic masculine component that also is more than likely having a lot to do with these instances of police roughhousing, because I do know that black men are not the only men who get roughhoused. I see lots of footage of white women getting slung, thrown through and into walls, white men also being beat down by police unnecessarily. So I understand the racial component, but I think anytime you get men under a patriarchy in a role like this, where they get to play the hero and a part of their duties are to employ aggressive means, that is kind of hard to not consider the hypermasculine component and the role that it plays when you get men together and they're playing a cop and robber, or they're acting as a vigilante. So I just hope that this is something that the criminal justice system can really take a larger nuanced look at the role that obviously racism, yes, plays, and the role that toxic masculinity plays in the way that police conduct themselves. Because I think that there's a lot to explore there, and there's a lot that can be extracted from those two components.
Yep, I agree. So I wanted to make sure that I got into this point here. I kept referencing it, but now I'm actually going to get into it. One of the most important things, especially because I haven't been 100. Okay, one of the reasons why I have not been here on YouTube so much is because I was given an opportunity to be in a environment. I'm not going to be very vague when I say this. In a environment where I can learn and have background access to certain ways and certain beings of life. I'm putting it that way. I don't know how to put it without exposing it. I don't want no trouble when I go back, girl. But I do have background knowledge in terms of these type of situations. I have some sort of knowledge. I'll put it that way. Now, one of the biggest things I do want to get into, policy. This is one of the things you want to know about policy and knowing rules in terms of the government, in terms of facilities, organizations, foundations, etc. You want to know the policies, the rules. Reason being is because if you are not aware or you are not educated on said policy, and the other party who may be the perpetrator are educated on said policy, you may become a victim, and you may actually have a foundation to stand on to report and to arrest, etc., sue whoever has disrespected you. But the perpetrator may actually get away only because you may not be well versed or well educated in said policy, which allows, with all policies comes loopholes. That's the reason why even you said it at one point in time, Conscious, in one of your videos, where you said, even when it comes down to the law, there are loopholes in the law. That's the reason why, depending upon your lawyer and how good your lawyer is, you may get off for doing a crime, whether you did it or not. Because all about loopholes. And so with those policies is that you, as we see from the video, if you actually took a chance to go look, and as we, from what I seen, this was an excessive attack on Mr. Woods. But this is where the policy comes into effect. The policy comes into effect is because me making the assumption that what happened if there was a cop or cops that wanted to do what they actually accomplished and did in said video. But however, they don't have the probable cause to do what they wanted to do. From my personal experience, from my personal background, I'm not going to expose what it is. There are cases and experiences to where there may be authority figures, and they want to quote unquote punish a person. I'm trying to be careful with my words. Punish a person, but however, there are legalities of what they have to do and legal steps that they must take. So what they would do is coerce or push that person to trigger a response that will give them the green light to do what they did. Did I say that is the best way I could without exposing, or you want to just take a jab at it too?
Let's just say that in a past life, you worked in the dungeons of the Wild Wild West.
Yes.
Yes, and have very much so experience, direct experience in this arena for sure. Hey, Arshawn.
I'm trying not to expose. I'm trying not to expose it. Because girl, I gotta go back to work. Okay. Expose it. But yeah, so that's really what I wanted to say in terms of the policy, because people can trigger a response because they know what the legal steps are. They know what's needed in order for them to give them the green light to do what they wanted to do, aka what we probably saw, what we did see in the video.
You know what? I'm glad you said that too, because I was thinking as well, they did this brutality in the broad of day, where obviously anybody on their front porch, walking by, driving by, could pull out their phones. So to your point, clearly this is something that they also expected to be able to get away with, which also leads me to believe that the entire precinct, just like in the case of Tyree Nichols, needs to be investigated, because more than likely this isn't the first time something like this has happened. Excessive force and raggediness has been employed. A lot of times what we see police do is not happening within a vacuum. It's a part of a larger abusive pattern when it comes to a particular district or precinct. So I'm curious to know what was happening behind the walls, because we know in the Tyree Nicole incident in Memphis that the Scorpion unit also had access to the people who worked the street cams that recorded the incident, which is why some of them weren't even working, etc. So there's a rabbit hole that oftentimes exists in situations like this. So I really hope that they do a thorough investigation and get every raggedy mother lover in this situation, because I'm sure that there's more than what meets the eye.
Yeah, there's most definitely more than meets the eye, but I also will tell you this as well. One thing I do know about the state gonna protect the state if they can. The state will protect the state, at least initially, And then once the state realizes we ain't got no ground to stand on, because keep in mind too, most of the officers have the complexion for the protection. So their initial response, especially if these officers have been in the business for a long extended amount of time. And so I know from experience, and I also know from my knowledge, and I'm not gonna say from experience to make it seem like I was part of it, from my knowledge that the state is going to protect the state. So if they have to come up with a little loophole and see what the loopholes are, even though they may know that what they did was dead wrong, they may know what they did is really effed up because they know it can lead to a lawsuit. So what they may do is try to, that's why I'm really harping on, know the policies, know these legal rules, these legalities in terms of situations, so you can be aware and know where the error in the procedure went wrong. And so you can be able to be very, very precise in terms of being able to go after the state, because the state, they're going to protect the state at all costs initially. But then once you got them in the chokehold, then all of a sudden the people that are actually in trouble, they throw them off to the wayside. Because I've seen it, heard it for myself. That's the reason why. Okay, I can explain this part. See this part of it. Everybody knows I'm in the military. Even within the military, that's the reason why we hear about Fort Hood. Specifically, a lot of crime, a lot of disappearing, a lot of people being executed happens on that base. Happens in Fort Hood quite often. Women go missing, etc. But there is no justice, or there is no the case isn't closed in terms of Fort Hood and all of the crimes and stuff that happens over there, because more than likely people know what's going on. People are aware of what's going on. But the gag is that the state is going to protect the state, and with the protection of the state also comes a rank. And with that rank, if you're high ranking and you did what you did, and especially you've been there for a long time and you're connected with higher up people, they're going to protect you. And so if it happens in the military side, then I know it happens in the sheriff officer side. So is that all you wanted to say? Because that's all I had to say.
Yeah.
All righty.
And so, I want to speak to Ty and Harold. Hey, y'all.
Hey. All right, let me see. So we're about to switch gears real quick. So we're gonna flip the page on this situation, but keep in mind, I'm gonna put that on the bike burner for 2.5 seconds. But then we're gonna talk about the Black trans woman that was attacked in downtown Baltimore. Now keep in mind, I will not be playing the video because I don't want YouTube to get me up out of here, but I will be showing the actual image. Now, my source is going to be from Gay Magazine. Come on, Instagram. Now, it says video trans woman being attacked by a group of men in downtown Baltimore surfaces. Now, it says a graphic viral video has recently surfaced of an alleged transgender woman being attacked by a group of men as she leaves a store in downtown Baltimore. It says in the video, several men can be seen hurling items and assaulting her as she leaves the store and walks down the street. A man can be heard saying in the video that the trans woman allegedly said, "Move your cutes out the way." It says the woman walked away, seemingly without putting up a fight to defend herself. The trans woman in the video has not been identified as of yet. And I'm going to say, even when I was looking up the video and I was looking up the woman, the trans woman, I still haven't seen her name or been able to get an identification of who this trans woman was. But however, anybody in the comments, if you know who this trans woman who this trans woman is, put it in the comment section. Yes, it's here. Identified as of yet. A police investigation has not been mentioned. The Human Rights Campaign recently reported on the executions of at least 17 transgender and gender nonconforming people whose lives have been tragically and inhumanely taken through violent means, including through GUN and interpersonal violence in 2023. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so activist Hope Giselle, who you guys are probably already familiar with, who travel in like queer spaces and kind of keep up with this news, etc. They held a rally out at the corner where this incident happened. The trans woman has still not been identified. People are suspecting who it is. I'm going to assume that this trans woman has not come forward, for one, because she may in fact be humiliated and feel embarrassed to have been in this predicament to begin with. Oftentimes, a lot of victims, especially of publicized violence, actually feel ashamed of the violence that was perpetrated against them, and will oftentimes, unfortunately, sit in the sidelines and in the nosebleeds. And two, because this is more than likely her actual community, she may fear coming forward and actually pressing charges or getting the law involved, and she may fear retaliation. We know that happens. Look at what happened in the incident. What's my girl name at the hot dog stand? Her and her son shot the perpetrator who is it Carlithia? Carlithia?
I can't think of it right now.
I think it's Carlithia.
Carlisha. I can't think of it.
It's Carlithia something, yeah. Hold on, let me see. Carlithia.
Let's see.
Carlithia Russell.
There we go.
Yeah. No. Not.
Is it?
Not Carly Russell.
Russell.
It's so many cars. Let me see something.
Well, wait. But before you, while you look for that, I want to make sure I get this out the way. Now, Deshaun put masculinity is fragile, and thank you so very much for your contribution. Masculinity is fragile. I just saw a video on Twitter of a man I got mad over. Another man saying the man was sexy, and he beat him up for that. And then he came up and beat them up some more. There was another video. Oh, he put this as well. There was another video of a man that had another man's arm over his shoulder that was chilling. The dude was recording, and all of a sudden the dude pushed him off. And oh yeah, I seen that video. That was, yeah. So it's Carlisha Hood.
Yeah. Carlisha Hood. So the trans woman may not be coming forward because she may fear retaliation. She has to live in this neighborhood. She has to rendezvous in these spaces where these young boys hang out, etc. Which is why I hope Giselle and the community rallied together to begin with. I think this is unfortunate. I have split consciousness on us because they're
getting to
black cis hetero men are in a complete and utter state of chaos as it relates to the brand of masculinity that they have internalized, which clearly is so fragile that a queer person can't even compliment you without there being some type of an internal collapse and threat that results in you perpetrating violence against someone over a compliment, over a affirming, supporting statement. This is absolutely absurd. This is out of control. This is it's unimaginable, to be honest. It's that extreme and over the top. Like, I mean, what would this look like if every time a woman complimented a gay man, that gay men reacted this way? Or if every time a cis hetero man complimented a woman, that a woman behaved this way as it relates to a compliment or catcalling or whatever it is. And so there is something obviously wrong with black male masculinity. And this is why I keep saying, whether it's O'Shea or whether it is Carlisa Hood or this black trans woman, black femicide is at an all-time high, and it encompasses all feminine bodies, whether that femininity is personified through a trans black woman, personified through a biological black woman, whether it's personified through a black male body, that femininity is under attack. Last but not least, I want to also say that, look, I stress a lot on my platform how queer people, this including Black women as well, like, we have got to accept that right now we are prey. We are prey. We are in a cage and in an artificial environment with some very, very, very animalistic ass predators. Okay, we are not safe in this space. I would love it if trans women lived in a space where they could freely participate in just socializing and being cute and flirty like anybody else and it not be a thing. But unfortunately, we aren't there. And her just living her life and being so cute and being so cuddly almost costed her life. And I just want trans people, non-binary folk, non-gender conforming folk, same gender loving men and women to understand that these men are dangerous. They are psychologically damaged. They have internalized toxic masculinity, and it is in our best interest to at best live alongside them, but honestly avoid any unnecessary contact with especially young Black straight male youth and energy. Read the room. I want the trans girls to understand there's a difference between the shit that the community can get into with trade at dark when the night is full and the air is thin and the bedroom windows are open, and the type of code you got to be on in the daylight with these ninjas. And I don't know what, the lifestyle of this trans woman is. I know that trans women oftentimes deal with trade, and that's kind of the type of men that dilly dab with them, etc. And obviously she felt comfortable enough in herself and felt comfortable enough to, just seemingly throw out a harmless compliment on her way out the door. But let this be a massive example that these men are not well, and to just keep it moving. Don't compliment these niggas. Don't ask them no questions. If you don't have to, don't ask them for no directions. If you don't have to, honey, like, treat, since they want to be dangerous, treat them like they are dangerous. For queer folk, we have to unfortunately look at Black straight men in all of the stereotypes, because that's oftentimes what they personify upon us when it's all said and done. It's all of those stereotypes that white America has about Black men. So I just encourage my trans girls and my non-gender conforming individuals to just stay clear of cis straight Black men at all costs, if you can. And I'll rest it right there for now.
Okay. Well, I agree with everything that you said, but I want to make sure I read into this. Deshaun says, here's the answer. You can blame the anti-LGBT for this. You can blame the other YouTubers that keep talking about gay people. You can also blame the people that passed those anti-gay bills. Now, here's the thing, is that, yes, I agree with everything that you said, Deshaun. And I tell people this all the time. We can't condition people to believe in certain things, act certain ways, and look at other people, other individuals, other humans a certain way, and then be shocked at the outcome that happens after the fact. It's like we can't socialize people to look at queer people as less than. We can't socialize people to look at specifically, because the thing is, gay people now are more accepted. Typically, it's easy. Typically, it's easy for people to accept gay people, but once you start getting to that trans, non-binary, drag queen, like even anything that has to do with gender. Now, sexuality is much easier to be accepted with its own complications. But once we start getting to that gender conversation, people are very much ignorant, not ignorant, but ignorant in their thinking and also ignorant in their behavior in terms of the way they interact with other human beings that look, appear, and are different from them. And we can't manifest doctrine that teaches people, that conditions people to believe certain things about groups of people and then be shocked, surprised that they carry out the said doctrine. Because the thing about it is that, yes, you may not be the person that goes around beating up on queer people. You may not be the person that goes around hurting queer people. You may not go around even being the person that calls queer people out their name, aka the F word, the T word, etc. But however, there are people that actually do so. There are people that actually do so, that carries out those things. And like you said, Conscious, make sure you stay strapped. Stay strapped. Stay ready so you never got to get ready, especially if you are trans and gender nonconforming or non-binary. Because with gay people, we're more accepted. But however, when you start getting to that gender conversation, baby, people start getting real ignorant. People make exceptions. I got my gay friend, but when it comes to that trans stuff, I ain't with that. I got my gay son, but long as he don't transition, we good. I believe there's only, X amount of genders. I don't know where they're going with this day and them. People really start to switch up and make exceptions. So you need to make sure that you stay strapped and stay ready so you never got to get ready. And like you said, kind of be aware of your surroundings. I never would have said anything like that, me personally, because I am aware how these naggers act. These naggers, they don't need an excuse to beat up on queer people. They don't need an excuse to beat up on trans women specifically. But you saying that from the outside looking in, from the general public standpoint, people can use that as an excuse. Is it valid? No. Because like Conscious said, I'm a gay man. I get complimented by cis women all the goddamn time. I don't say nothing. But what the hell are we gonna do? Bump donuts? No, I don't get offended. I said thank you, and I go about my business. And I also want to talk about the hypocrisy of how cishet black men, cishet men in general, cishet men want to catcall, walk up, flirt with women all day long, and also receive those compliments back all day long. But yet, when that same energy is returned back to them, probably by some queer people, they take issue with it. All of a sudden, when that energy is returned back to cis men, all of a sudden they understand the conversations surrounding consent. They understand that no means no. They understand that, I'm not interested and I mean it. But yet, a lot of times when we get to these conversations around consent and how catcalling for some women, because some women like it, some women don't. And with the group of women that don't like to be catcalled, especially after they made their, especially after they said no, my voice over here recovering, y'all. Especially after they said no, and then you continue after the fact, a lot of men are oblivious to why. Now, y'all remember earlier when I said that I want to put the first case, Mr. Woods, on the back burner. So let me take it off the back burner and let's bring it to the front. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this is one of the issues that come into effect in terms of, now, disclaimer, what I'm about to say has nothing to do with both of those individuals involved directly. Make that clear. But however, I'm going to use their situation as a catalyst. This is the reason why a lot of queer people, especially trans individuals, gender nonconforming, etc., they take issue with always trying to come in defense of certain individuals that we assume to be heterosexual. and of course men, but assumed to be heterosexual and come to the defense whenever they're in trouble when it comes down to the police. It's because a lot of the times too is that a lot of the men that people have come and in defense for have also been the same individuals throwing out hateful queer-phobic slurs, disrespecting queer people. And you know what always gets the people are their old tweets, their old posts on social media, their likes. So it brings up a question in people's heads for queer people that yes, we are Black first. But however, we know that. Do y'all know that? Because the question always comes up is, what if that was me? What happened if that was me? Now, I'm not even going to say a gay man because people can make exceptions for that. What happened if that was a non-binary person, melanated non-binary person on the ground suffering? What happened if that was a transgender woman? Because transgender women are sensationalized. It's easy to hate a transgender woman. We really don't even talk about transgender men. And we really don't talk about non-binary people or even intersex people. But I'm going to use transgender women as an example. What about the transgender women that have been brutalized by the police, but yet their stories have been pushed to the back? What happens when you actually do have queer people that do step into these positions or these movements or these organizations to help out, and they don't lead with their sexual orientation, they don't lead with their gender identity, and they are a part of the movement, they are a part of the culture, they do have the fluence and the impact, and they go through with the movement and the impact, and then people like to turn around and say, where was the LGBT? But then when they do show up, queer people do show up and they have flags, people also want to make the conversation about, now you're leading with your sexuality or your gender identity and your sexual orientation. Now you're trying to co-opt this movement. And this is what always happens in these type of conversations. And that's all I really want to say. What do you have to say, Conscious? If you had anything else to it?
I want to tweak that little we're Black first sentiments. Yeah, we're Black first to white America. But when you're queer and Black in the Black community, you're queer first. That's what gets prioritized. That is what becomes your staple, even when you're not necessarily leading from that. But the reality is that we're going to have to accept that Black queer people are Black and queer, the way that there's nuance in being Black and woman and being Black and man. And neither one of those are without each other. This is all intersectional, simultaneous identity compounded as one single phenomenon. And I was thinking about the story that one of my subscribers sent me earlier regarding this case with this YouTuber, Mr. Tanner Cook, who was playing a prank on Mr. Alan Colley at a mall. And he had his phone all up in this man's face, etc. This man told him numerous of times to leave him alone, to he even attempted to walk away from this man. This man followed him, etc. And Mr. Colley pulled his pistol, his GUN out of his pullover and popped Mr. Tanner right in the belly and went on about his door dashing business, just like I would have done. That's the level of ready that Black women and Black queer people need to be on when it comes to these ninjas, is swiftly and professionally, baby. Popped, period. Okay, because had I been that trans woman in that video, first of all, every bag that I'm in, that I have on my person is going to have hot sauce in it. There's always hot sauce in my bag, for one. And For 2, that footage would have looked very differently, baby, because it would have been a lot of upset black mothers in Baltimore once I would have got done spinning the block. It would have been a lot of fish fry dinners, being funneled through the community as a form of resource for funeral arrangements, etc. Because I believe in making it that easy. Pop. You're not going to throw items at me, because once whatever got thrown at her, the water bottle, etc., I would have been on alert. Once anybody would have started approaching me after asserting that aggression, pop, you wouldn't have ever got that close. Never turn your back on your open enemies. It's a lot of things we can learn from this situation, and the biggest thing is, if you are queer and black, and or you are woman in black, if you man, well, we know that all the ninjas got GUNs. They already carrying, so we don't need to inform them, but the rest of us need to follow suit with our black cis hetero male peers and understand the assignment, because we're living in peril and dangerous times. So at this point, the narrative isn't going to change until queer people set a precedence of violence. That's really the only thing that's going to ring bells. Is that unfortunately we are going to have to seize the kingdom by way of violence, and so are black bio women. Violence is the only thing that's going to act as a aggressive equivalent to the RAPE. They want to perform on us to the level of violence. They want to perpetrate against us. I have completely transcended this idea of turning the other cheek in this way, or that you can verbally appeal to wickedness and evil and dysfunctionality. You cannot. Because this is a prime example, right? This black trans woman in no way was aggressive. Even when she was under attack, she maintained a defenseless posture. That was not enough to keep her perpetrators from kicking her, punching her, swinging on her, throwing objects at her, etc. So we can clearly see that turning the other cheeks for us will result in both of our cheeks being 6 feet under. The only thing that makes sense is aggression for aggression. Yeah. And it's not black women's fault that they live in the jungles, and it's not black queer people's fault that they live in the jungles. We are the victims.
Yep.
This is a forced simulation that we are in. We have right to bear arms. We have right to preserve our lives. It is not our fault if we have to pop these ninjas for situations they are putting everybody else in. So I have no hold back. I got all the smoke. I got all the fire. I don't have not one. Baby, let me tell you who not gonna lose no sleep. Let me tell you who not gonna lose no sleep for a situation you put me in. Let me tell you who gonna. Let me show you the image. I want you to share my screen. I'm gonna tell. Let me share my screen right here. Share this, Reckless.
Okay. Is up? Okay, yeah. I see it.
This is me after popping your ass.
Let me do it like this.
This how I look, baby. Teddy bear in tow, peacefully in the astral plane after popping several of you ninjas. Baby, sleep without interruption.
Girl.
Okay, so I I don't know how much more this gotta happen. I don't know how much more these stories have to come up and out for us to understand we are not safe, we are not wanted, we are not loved here, and we need to walk and act like it. Black women, Black queer people.
Yeah. And we're just gonna end it off on that. Well, I really do appreciate you coming through, Conscious, helping me out with the commentary. Give the people your outro. I'm gonna drop you down, and then I'm gonna end the video.
All right, you guys know where y'all can find me at Conscious TV. Okay. On YouTube, that's Conscious with the Z on the end. You can find me on. And you can find me over on Instagram at Conscious TV as well. I want to thank you so much, Reckless, for having this very important conversation. You are amazing. And I'm happy to have been here. Make sure you guys become members. Show my ninja some love, honey. Turn green out here in these streets, honey. Okay.
It almost slipped out. He was like, Nick.
Right. All right, trying to keep this video in the green. And I'll see y'all later. Bye.
All righty. That's Conscious TV for y'all. Alrighty, y'all. I'm really to appreciate Conscious TV coming through, stepping through. I really appreciate all of the viewers that came out to support. I know it's been a little minute since I've been on here in these YouTube streets in terms of my platform, but I've been over that Conscious platform. But in terms of my platform, me peeking my head through over there with him, but I wanted to make sure I wanted to be more consistent. And as you guys can tell, I've been doing some things behind the scenes in terms of my intro, in terms of the very interesting equipment that I end up buying as well. But as you guys can already tell, I'm still recovering. My voice still is kind of out. But I really do appreciate you guys. That is it for my video for today, guys. Please make sure you guys pop that like button, hit the subscribe button, and please, please, please smack that notification bell so do not miss any more posts from me. Till next time, guys, I will see you guys later. Bye.